Welcome everyone to the EOS Fireside Chat for October 19th. EOS, for those of you who don't know, is a layer 1 smart contract platform that is governed by its community. It's the only crypto network that has had a foundation emerge organically from within the community years after the launch of the network. Since the creation of the EOS Network Foundation 1 year ago, the new EOS has seen an incredible acceleration of progress and innovation. The EOS Network Foundation has built an excellent team that has been able to quickly establish essential frameworks that empower the EOS community to do its best work and live its best life through foundational initiatives like the recognition grants, the Blue Paper Research Series, the Pomelo crowdfunding platform, the direct investment framework, and the ongoing EOS Roadshow. The community has been activated and energized to a level not seen since the launch of the network in 2018. EOS is in the midst of an epic narrative reversal, and the new EOS has the potential to become the greatest crypto comeback story of all time. My name is Stephane, and I'm one of the co-founders of EOS Nation, currently a top-ranked block producer on EOS and other Antelope chains, and I'm happy and honored to be your host for today. So thank you everyone for joining. We've got 30 of you on Discord. Awesome to see you guys again. Of course, if you guys want to join in the conversation, we invite you guys to do so at any time. If you've got thoughts, comments, questions, reactions to the news stories of the week that we discussed, feel free to jump in. Or if you want to wait until the community open mic section at the end of the show, where we invite anyone from the community to ask questions, share updates about their projects, or just say hi to everyone. You can also share memes, images, and links in the text chat that's found here in the voice chat on Discord. And shout out to everyone tuning in from other platforms. This show is streamed live to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So if you're catching us on those other platforms, I'd invite you guys to join Discord and join us live in the show and join us here on stage and say hi to the community. So today, of course, we'll be talking about EOS, but also the Antelope ecosystem. Antelope is the name for the community-owned blockchain software that powers a variety of highly performant blockchain networks, such as EOS, Telos, Wax, UX, and many others that will also become connected through IBC in a not too distant future. So today we're talking about the full launch of Yield Plus that happened on Monday. We had Eve go on the Wendy O show earlier this week. Also, there's a nice article on entrepreneur.com. Nice to see some wide visibility for EOS. We've got some Pomelo news to share today. We had a nice article from Hogan Tech talking about EOS Uptime. We've got some slightly funny graphs to share on that later on. And also we'll be talking about alien worlds and the planetary DAO system that's being launched soon, and how there's a planet dedicated to support EOS. So we'll hear about that. And there's been some Helios interviews and workshops and the hackathon updates, some other topics like some Eden CD's interviews by Nova Crypto, and Jesse from the Bees may be talking about a tweet he made earlier this week talking about decentralized whitelisting. All right, so before we get into the news of the week, some quick housekeeping to do here. Of course, we've got the POP token giveaways. If you go in the PopBot chat, register your EOS account, you'll get your 1 POP token for the day. Those can be traded for raffle tickets to win prizes or other NFTs. And the Road to 10K promo, we're almost at 6,000 members, so there's still time to create your custom invite link and invite your friends to the EOS Discord server and earn yourself a bit of EOS and some NFTs along the way. All right, enough from me. Time to talk about Yield Plus. And if Denis is on the line, I'd love to hear more about how the full launch went this week.
Great. Yes, I'm on the line. Thank you, Steph. So on Monday, October 17th, was the official Yield Plus launch. And that is when the initial funds to deploy Yield Plus were deposited. So there was a request made from the Yield Plus team to request funding from ENF on behalf of, so that was 300,000 EOS that was deposited on the night before. And on the date of October 17th was when the parameters were modified to the official launch, which is the 5% yield earnings per year. And everything went really smooth. The morning of, we were actually on a different call at the exact same time at the launch, and we executed the launch while we were on another call. And even someone during the call was, "Hey, is it launched?" Like, yeah, it was launched 50 minutes ago. So it went really smooth. There was no hiccups. Everything went according to plan. And right now, I think I see there is some of the applications, the DeFi applications in EOS are starting to trickle in and try to plan their next step. You can see a few liquidity pools that are boosted, specifically the EOS to Tether pair. One DeFi application, DFS, actually has a pretty increased rewards on that liquidity pool. And there's other teams kind of working right now to kind of figure out what their game plan is for Yield Plus and try to make sure that they can increase the rewards to their users. So pretty exciting stuff. There's a lot of work, I think, still that needs to be done. A lot of more marketing on the DeFi ecosystem, but I think the teams are activated and ready to launch into their next phase. Maybe there's something from on Eve's side, since the ENF was as involved as the also involved in the launch as well. Or Zack?
I would defer to Zack because he loves this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Go on forever about it, and he gets way more excited than I do. Well, so maybe talk about. So I have been looking kind of what yield is being offered and such, and how we're going to integrate that with, as we talked about last week. The part that I can mention is the part that we've been talking about, which is the increase in adoption of USDT EOS on a few exchanges. How we can link basically Yield Plus, the initiative, and the marketing initiatives that'll go alongside the launch of the listing of USDT EOS on that particular exchange. So to try and even get more, excitement around this and more yield essentially, and more eyes on this. But I'll let Zack go for it.
So I've been impressed with the we have like a little channel with a bot. Denis maybe even set it up for the applications coming in. So it's great to see the increased yields. That was kind of expected. DFS, I shared the screenshot after you pointed out to me earlier. They're offering a 33% APR on their USDT EOS pool. So I'm guessing that's because they're pouring the Yield Plus subsidy into there. I've seen things in the DeFi box community channels. There's some votes coming up, I believe, to determine how they're going to handle their yields. But that was all kind of expected. The Yield Plus program, it's great to increase the yields for the end users, but the end goal of Yield Plus is to increase the development of new DeFi protocols on EOS. And that's the part that I've kind of liked seeing, is the new applications coming in from new projects that I wasn't previously aware of. So to see new I don't know if they're just launching now because of Yield Plus, or if they've just been in stealth mode for a little bit, but Mixed DAO was one of them, I believe, was one of the names. Then another one came in yesterday. Not all of them are qualifying, so there's a minimum amount of TVL to actually start earning the rewards, but that's kind of step 2. Step 1 is just registering and getting on the radar. So that's something I've liked to see personally. But besides that, it's been a couple of days, and DFS is the first one that came on my radar with a really, really juicy yield. And I think the Tether listings are going to come at a really, really good time, because, like, for example, if you're already most people who hold EOS positions, or any crypto position, you're probably also holding stable coins. So if you're already holding both assets, then it makes a lot of sense to go into the liquidity pools. Or if you want to use like an automated trading strategy, for example, you don't hold any EOS, but you believe that the market will go up in general, like regardless of assets, you just think that eventually it'll go up. You could actually like open up a new EOS position. You already hold stable coins, put that into the liquidity pool, and then it's kind of like an automated trading strategy. So for example, if EOS went up in price, then you would end up with more USDT and less EOS. So then you could pull out of the liquidity pool and rebalance to all USDT. But while you're in that pool, you're earning a 33% yield, for example. So there's a lot of different strategies that are opening up right now because of the yield plus. So I think we'll continue to see that growth. And it was also cool to see, going back to how we led into this topic with the Wendy O show last week. So if you haven't watched it, I highly suggest that you do, because it was just, you could obviously see that there were three people. There was Wendy, and then the two other guests who really didn't have much of an idea of what was going on in EOS, didn't know about Yield Plus or Recover Plus until Eve had the opportunity to kind of share the news. And to just see the reactions from three people who are pretty aware of every, like other things going on in the space and what's exciting and what's not exciting. Just seeing the kind of general reactions from that, and then also the follow through. So not only was an impressive showing of EOS on a really popular YouTube channel, but the opportunities that have already kind of presented themselves since then. So the other two hosts, I believe there's invites to bring Eve onto their shows, for example, to talk more about EOS and Yield Plus and everything else going on. So it's nice to see it's kind of the word's getting out there essentially, and it's just going to continue to expand.
Great. There's actually one more it's more of a technical and administrative point to Yield Plus. It is the governance to launch Yield Plus was actually a multi-team approach. So right now, Yield Plus is actually under an MSIG with 5 out of 7 teams in the ecosystem. So that would be like the core Yield Plus team. And ENF was also involved, which is another 2 out of 3 partners on ENF. So to actually make the launch, we actually needed to have about 7 out of 10 actors. So a lot of people had to approve the launch. So it is definitely, in a way, decentralized in a way that we had to have 7 out of 10 teams approve the launch. And so if anybody was following the MSIGs that were being proposed, there was an MSIG from Yield Plus team to propose to ENF to propose the approval of the funds being requested. So that was the first, in my opinion, or my first triple hop MSIG.
We do a lot of the double hops, but this was a first triple hop.
This was an MSIG to propose an MSIG to approve the MSIG. So it was quite the MSIG inception to get this up and running. But it did require everybody's involvement. So kudos to all of the involving members of Yield Plus and ENF as well to launch this.
Well, on the topic of multi-sigs, I've been impressed. I've liked the new feature. I don't know when it was added. Embarrassingly, the execution time. How you've been able to set that parameter so that no one could execute a multi-sig after it's been signed off by everyone until a specific time. That never existed before until maybe like a month ago. And I like that feature.
Yeah, so this was an MSIG. I think that Eve has been the subject of quick approval,
yes,
quick execution.
A lot.
So a lot of times these MSIGs are public, and as soon as the threshold is met on an MSIG, anyone in the entire chain can execute an MSIG. Which means if anybody is following ENF's MSIGs or any popular account, aka Eve's account, Eve does not even have the chance to execute his own MSIGs. Usually it's someone else.
It's Max Cho. Max, are you here? It's Max Cho.
So we had to do an anti-Max Chow mechanism.
Who was on the call actually for the so Max Cho, shout out, he's the one that did the Leap upgrade as well, so we did give him that honor while being on the call.
And the initial ENF multi-sig from the block producers, and I think Eden's initial treasury funding. I think he's executed
a lot of them.
Every major milestone over the last year he's executed.
Yeah, so this new feature, this time check, which is just making sure that anybody can still execute the MSIG just at a predefined time. So that way, if you're trying to time an MSIG event at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning, nobody can execute prior to that, and because it does require some signatures from multiple parties, and it's quite
there's a reason for this, right? So in this instance, for the Leap upgrade, for example, we want to accumulate the signatures ahead of time, but you want to have everyone present when it does execute in case something goes wrong. And if you only met the threshold of signatures, then it could be executed at any time. It doesn't mean that the people are on standby waiting to see the effects of that upgrade. And so it's a very important feature to add, or that we've leveraged.
And this code is available on the ENF's GitHub repo, and I believe that Talos has actually deployed it as one of their system contract features. And I'm sure other EOSIO or Antelope chains can also implement that, but it's available for anybody to use. So it's not a secret sauce that EOS have. It's available. Anybody can deploy. Right now, it's deployed on EOS and Talos just natively, but very handy feature for MSIGs. And on that note, I think we can close up.
Well,
very cool. There was actually just one more thing on the Yield Plus full launch I don't have to share. There's 2 articles written about it in the general crypto finance news world. So that's always nice to see. I'm going to share them here for everyone, for those who have not seen it, or you might want to share it on your networks, etc. So always cool to see how these types of programs are getting attention in the wider space. So just wanted to throw that in there before we move on.
I got one more thing too, and Denis, you would probably be the one to talk about it again. So on Monday you mentioned how there was another call at the same time as the Yield Plus call, and it was actually about the secure smart contract libraries. So I think that's one of the more interesting things that ties into Yield Plus also, is because there is this RFP that's been put out through the Antelope Coalition, and it has been responded to by several teams, some of which are on this call. And what that'll do is it'll provide open source, pre-audited, battle-tested code for AMMs, lending contracts, stable coins. I don't have them all in front of me, but a bunch of different building blocks so that anyone could actually build their own DeFi protocols on EOS or any Antelope chain. And I think that's another avenue that we're going to see more adoption of Yield Plus, because right now, if you wanted to build any type of DeFi project, not a lot of the projects are open source. DeFi Box isn't open source. Pizza is not open source. I'm not sure Vigor is at this anymore, or ever was. So there's not a lot of open source code. There's EvoDex. That's, I think, the only one that's open source. So through the secure smart contract libraries, it's going to open source a lot of really, really useful building blocks to be able to build new DeFi protocols. And that will tie in with the maximum TVL of Yield Plus. So I gave the example last week or the week before about DeFi Box's swap protocol, for example. Their swap is already above the maximum threshold. So the maximum you will earn this yield subsidy on is 6 million EOS. So after you have a total TVL between USDT and EOS of higher than the equivalent of 6 million EOS, then that DeFi protocol will stop earning additional yield subsidies for that particular protocol. So what I envision seeing is, if there is open source AMM code, for example, that's battle tested and can be trusted, pre-audited, that you'll start seeing more swaps popping up. And that's going to be good for the entire ecosystem, because every single swap that launches is going to have an EOS and USDT pool. It's probably the first pool that any project would want, because you get both sides of that AMM. You're going to get the yield subsidy on, because the 2 hard assets that are being covered are EOS and USDT. So the more pools, the more AMMs that launch with that trading pair, with 6 million EOS worth of that trading pair, it's just going to create a lot of arbitrage volume between all of them. It's going to, and that's just to keep the markets efficient. That's going to increase the trading volumes on all of the different swaps, which is going to actually increase native yields. So the native yields earned from trading fees. And it's also going to allow other business models to profit from the program too, like the arbitrageurs themselves, for example. whoever has the most efficient and fast bots that are kind of patrolling the network, trying to make the markets efficient. There's revenue earning opportunity for those entities as well. And they're not even like part of the Yield Plus subsidies necessarily. So it's all these new opportunities to earn revenue on chain, both directly and indirectly.
Yeah, you said it pretty really good there, Zach. And like I said, the secure smart contract are DeFi Lego blocks, as you can think about it. And that way the teams can pick up an open source audited smart contract, let's say a swap pool, for example, and then they can start focusing on the marketing and the incentives and building their community, and not really worry about, how do I build a swap pool? So this is very common on Ethereum, where the community members copy Uniswap. And there's I don't know how many Uniswap clones, probably in the 500s worth of Uniswap clones. And you can pick up a Uniswap contract, deploy it, and now you focus on how do you keep your community engaged and how do you do your marketing, how you can build a nice UI for your website. So the secure smart contract is really to allow others to pick up something